Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health with SaraBanta. I'm a busy wife, mom of 3, and an NANP certified supplement professional, but that's not all. I'm also the founder of the multi-award winning Accelerated Health Products, a brand offering innovative, natural, scalar-enhanced supplements to optimize your health. And this podcast isn't just a source of information, it's a community. We're all here to learn and grow on our health journeys, regardless of where you are today. And this podcast is the springboard to learning, and the free group coaching on Telegram is where we continue learning together. You can ask your questions. I post tips and tools to deepen your health and keep you moving forward every single day. So here's what you can expect. New episodes every Monday and Wednesday with in-depth health discussions and expert guests. Hot topics that are in the news every Friday to keep things fun, and a free health group coaching on Telegram. That's where we join and continue the conversation. The details are on my website at SaraBantaHealth.com. Have you thought about detoxing, but you're a little worried if it's too much, or you're worried about the detox flu symptoms? Well, I've created over 10 unique, easy detox cleanse programs to help reset your body while feeling great without the detox symptoms. If you are looking just to get pooping with the colon cleanse or the parasite cleanse or the candida cleanse or the liver flush cleanse that I talk about so much, or the big one, the accelerated diet cleanse that resets everything, you can have your choice, and you can take the detox quiz at SaraBantaHealth.com to find out which one is right for you. And maybe you're not ready for a detox, but you want to start with a few supplements and don't know where to start. Just complete my health goals form for your free supplement protocol on the website. I will personally put together a protocol just for you. So just by taking a few steps forward with your health, you will change your life. I am here to help you every step of the way. I'm so excited to have some people from my backyard, Raquel Perry and Brad Davidson. They are the hosts of the Ultimate Comeback podcast. They're passionate about health, fitness, personal transformation. They walk the walk and they do the talk. Welcome, you guys. How are you today?
Doing great, thank you.
Well, Brad, I was introduced to you through Raquel, and I can't believe we didn't know each other before. And I want to talk about strength training as the ultimate anti-aging hack. We live in Newport Beach, where everyone's pumping themselves with Botox and coloring their hair. And, you know, we've got implants. I think we beat Beverly Hills when it comes to all of that stuff. But we should all be focused on strength training, not Orange Theory and HIIT training and running 8 miles all in one day and eating salads with chicken on them. We need to be looking at this differently. So first off, why don't you tell people where you are coming from, why you're so passionate about this, and then we'll get into the details of the importance of strength training.
Yeah, perfect. So I have a background as a strength coach. I've owned multiple gyms. I've taught all over the world this topic. I've written a book on the topic. I specialize in people that are dealing with lots of stress. So entrepreneurs, busy moms, professional athletes. The more stress someone's under, the better my methodology tended to work. And it's led me into a world of working with the female metabolism, because what I've learned is the female metabolism is the most susceptible metabolism to stress. And for the first 60 years of metabolic study, majority of the metabolism studies were done on college-age boys. Well, their metabolism is very different than female metabolism, especially as a female gets into the older life stages of life. It totally backfires. So these things like all this HIIT training, depriving yourself of food, all these extremes that work really well for a young man are absolutely devastating to the female metabolism. And so I've really focused my efforts now on going after women that want to truly look better, feel better, have more energy, and actually get results in the gym. And the real way that works is by understanding how to truly strength train, by understanding how to manage stress. And those are all the things that we preach on our podcast and that we teach at our gym.
And it's so funny because I'm sure you've heard the story of, yeah, my husband and I went on a diet and a program for 30 days. He lost 20 pounds and I've gained 15 doing the same thing. And
Yeah.
we know that us women are so used to doing the grind. Like
Yeah.
it's not a lack of trying or
No, 100%.
willpower, right?
That's the other reason I love the female metabolism, because you guys are so committed to taking care of yourselves. It's never a lack of effort on your part.
Right.
It's just reality is the information that has been given to women is just backwards. That's why it works so well for men and it doesn't work for women. It's because it's actually made for men. And the metabolisms are so different, and what's needed for a man and a woman are very different, especially as we get older.
The studies on women, they're just not out there. And I follow Dr. Bill Campbell. He's been on my show a few times. He's amazing with his fat loss studies, muscle gain, all of that. But he's studying men in college.
Yep.
That doesn't apply. He's starting to do women more, thank goodness. And thank goodness there are other women out there that have done the studies that are showing us that chronic cardio is backfiring. The eating less is backfiring. You got to think of your body as a bank. It knows if it only has $20 in the bank, it's not going to spend, right? Yeah. If you've got $1 million in the bank, we're going shopping. So 100%. there's a difference. And Raquel, you know, we've known each other since our kids were so little. I remember first meeting you when my oldest was at swim lessons, and you were rock solid. And I looked at you and I go, how do I get muscles like that? And you are working out hard. You teach the hardest hot yoga strength classes that I've ever been to. They kick my booty, but you do it with such energy. I don't know how you talk through those classes. And you do spin classes, and you do other things, and you train outside those classes for yourself. Now, you were doing that in your 30s and 40s, and now you're almost
50s. And 50s. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so now you're knocking at the door at 60 years old. You look like you're 30 or 40, which is amazing. Your body looks phenomenal still.
Thank you.
For all of you women out there, you don't have to lose hope. You don't just have to get, you know, overweight and lose that muscle and have the brain fog and the hair falling out, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, you need to be doing your liver detoxing and taking care of your body internally with diet, but you also need to change with your changing body to get the results. So can you take us through what you've learned and what you've changed over the decades?
Of course. Brad and I met about 3 years ago at a gym that we were both working at. I was teaching classes there and he was training clients. And we didn't really know each other very well, but I knew him well enough to know that he was a great trainer. I saw his clientele come and go. And I had decided that I wanted to have explant surgery after 30 years of having implants that had never been replaced or taken out. And when I did that, I knew that I was going to have some serious downtime, that I wasn't going to be teaching classes at all for a bit, and that my training was going to look a lot differently. So I decided to ask Brad if he would train me while I was down, meaning, okay, I'm not going to be doing my crazy HIIT classes. I'm not doing spin classes. None of that stuff is going to happen, but I'm sure I can still do a leg workout or certain things that we could work around. And he said, absolutely. So what began as me thinking I was going to do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month of training with him turned into me completely shocked about how wrong I was doing things and how I was doing way too much volume of things, teaching a couple classes a day and still doing my stuff on top of it, and a spin class here or there, maybe still running a little bit at that point. And he just really said, you're doing way too much. And once I was given this permission, if you will, to sort of scale back and really put the emphasis on strength training that is methodical, strength training with progression, strength training that is not just willy-nilly, I'm going to go and just throw a heavy weight around. I want to do it with intention. I realized that, oh my gosh, I've been doing this so wrong. But as we've all talked about, it's something that we've had ingrained in our head that if we want to look a certain way, we have to absolutely kill ourselves. We have to go harder, faster, longer, better. as well as really scaling back what our intake is. So with his help, he really showed me how the strength training was going to be so crucial. Walking gave me permission to get away from doubling up classes. And there are days where I teach a class and that's all I do. And he just really helped me reshape how I was thinking about exercise and longevity, really.
So just to emphasize this, as we're getting older and into perimenopause and menopause, our ovaries are dying. We literally have an organ that dies, and our adrenals have to take over a job that our ovaries were doing, and that is producing our sex hormones. So our adrenals that are already tapped out by raising our kids that are now becoming adult kids. And as my preschool teachers told me a long time ago, she said, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. Mm-hmm. So even though we're not changing diapers, they are a true stressor. And then we've got our elderly parents that we might be taking care of. We've got a job. We've got a husband or a spouse that we might be dealing with, you know, all of the craziness of the world that's going on. So the amount of stress that we're already under outside of actually going to work out and doing too much in the gym or on the treadmill, our adrenals are tapped. And women in their 40s and 50s have, if you want to call it adrenal fatigue, whatever it is, they're tapped. Cortisol is not kicking in the morning to get you out of bed, and then it's making you wired and tired at night. You're not sleeping well with the bombardment of the hormonal imbalances, making the sleep even worse. Then you're waking up and forcing yourself to go do that 1 or 3 workouts on very little fuel. You don't think that's stressing your body out even more. So it's this cascade. And then we're thinking, oh my God, I'm failing. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. And that's a stressor. And then we wig out at our kids and our husbands, and they think we're crazy. So there's all of this stuff that is piling up, where if you just take a step back and go, I need to restore my adrenals and relieve my stress and go after the big things. And that muscle is an organ. And it is so hard to keep after you are in menopause. So you younger women, take advantage of that muscle you're able to build and keep it. Do everything you can to keep it. So Brad, can we talk about the benefits of strength training, the importance of women especially carrying that muscle mass as an anti-aging hack?
Yeah, so muscle mass is the most potent thing we have for anti-aging, especially muscle mass that is trained, because it's the most metabolically active. But after you just went through like all the stressors that the average woman is under, it's overwhelming. Another thing that people don't realize is that style of lifestyle, that amount of stress is also catabolic, meaning it's breaking you down. It's breaking down muscle tissue. The greatest thing that I learned in the last probably 10 years was that your training program is only as good as your ability to recover from it. If you can't recover from the training you're doing, you're not getting better, you're getting worse. You're catabolic, you're breaking down. So this muscle mass that we have that is so valuable, that keeps us youthful, that keeps us young, that keeps us moving well, that keeps our immune system strong, that keeps our metabolism at elevated level, everything's against it. That's why all this high intensity training and these large volumes of working out is actually accelerating aging and making things worse, because the body's falling apart, because it's causing us to lose muscle mass. To train in a way that to put muscle mass on and to maintain it is actually really hard. It's not an easy thing to do. It is probably, and the only reason I know this is because a lot of my clientele come in and they're getting paid millions of dollars for a response to putting muscle mass on. It is really, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of skill, and a lot of strategy behind it. And so a woman is under a lot of stress that wants to put muscle mass on, she needs strategy on her side. Like you talked about, you got to take care of the metabolism first. You got to have a super healthy metabolism. You got to take care of the liver, the blood sugar stability, the adrenals. You have to have a really healthy base to even have an environment to put muscle mass on. And so, like, that's why everything you talk about is super valuable, because that stuff has to be in place. The metabolism has to be running at full bore to really create an environment to where you can go then challenge the muscle to break it down and rebuild itself by adding in the good strength training and all the recovery strategies. And recovery strategy isn't just putting Normatec boots on for 10 minutes and all of a sudden you're nice and recovered. It's getting enough sleep, right? It's taking walks. It's purposely having rest days where you're not working out. Like, that is probably the most valuable tool we have, but most people don't want to do that because they think it's bad for them. There needs to be a lot more emphasis on good strategy, really healthy metabolism, and using rest to your aid and your side to create this youth, to get the adrenals back on your side so that they're stabilizing everything you have, so you have great energy. Now, people tell me all the time, oh, I feel great. I'm like, okay, let's cut out all your caffeine and all your alcohol for the next 3 days and meet on day 4 and prove to me how great you feel. It's usually not very pretty. So I just tell people, if you don't feel great, it's going to be really hard to put a muscle on your body and to have great energy in life to go experience life to its fullest.
It's interesting. I'm 48 and I grew up with a group of friends that definitely like the drink. And I went out to dinner with a group of them last year, and I noticed that only 2 out of 8 of them were drinking. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. The body it's not as forgiving as we get older. And that caffeine from the cup of coffee, I love my coffee. That's not replacing your adrenal health. You are energy is not free. So it's taking some money out of the bank, borrowing it for a little bit. And there are days when I don't have that energy in the gym. I still put my tennis shoes on. I still put my workout clothes on, but I might do more stretching, and I might, in my warm up of 10 minutes, see, oh, well, there's the energy. It is there. And then I've got it in the bank and I go do a good workout. Or nope, it's still not there. Come on, dogs, let's go for a walk. And just listening to the body. And I have to tell you, for someone like me, it is hard to take a day off, really hard mentally. But being able to do something is always helpful. The other thing that I've learned about myself is, as I've increased my caloric intake, oh, wow, my metabolism has actually increased. And guess what else? The amount of movement I do outside of the gym is more naturally, because my body has this energy, this fuel to go do something. But if I'm restricting calories, the natural thing to do is to bust it out in the gym and then go just lay on the couch and not move. So your body's naturally going to use the fuel it's been given. And Raquel, I would love to hear your experience as you've changed that. And because you are not restrictive with your diet anymore. And we've talked about the fact that you feel the need for carbs as I do. And something I learned about myself in my DNA test is a high fat diet actually will cause insulin resistance in me, and I need carbs. My genetic blueprint is to eat more carbs, and that to work out fasted for women can be too much of a stressor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what has been your experience?
Well, one thing that I did when I was started training with Brad and working with him was I read his book, The Stark Naked 21-Day Metabolic Reset. And I've always been someone that have I tried some diets? Yes. Was there the South Beach diet? Yes. Was there the Cambridge diet? You're probably way too young to remember that, but I had kind of dabbled in some of these things. But I did have a mindset of, oh no, I'm not dieting. I have a lifestyle of eating. Now that has changed a lot. There's been the keto, there's been the, as you said, intermittent fasting. I had a lumen where I was breathing into that thing to make sure I was, I'm in the right state before I do anything. That actually caused me more stress than good, I'm sure. And I think what his book kind of taught me was the timing of when I'm eating my carbs is crucial. Also, I had allowed certain food, and I say allowed, but started bringing certain foods into my diet that in the name of health. For example, drinking raw milk or doing raw dairy, raw cheese, all the things, because we've heard, okay, this is much better for us than the homogenized version of things. And for me, I have discovered after taking that out, that really doesn't work as well for me, sadly. that I do get an inflammatory response from that, as well as gluten. I had thought, oh, well, I can do some of the sourdough, the longer fermented sourdough. I can do it a little bit, but not all of the time. So his book is not a restrictive type of thing. It's about, you know, he can speak to this too, but it's about more of getting rid of the stressors that we have in our life. So the book asks for you to not work out for 21 days. You're going to only walk. And I think probably 90% of the people that do this book that he knows will try and negotiate what that looks like. And I was one of them. I'm like, can I still teach my classes? But I didn't add on anything extra. And both times that I've done it, because I've done it twice, I have really noticed that it's not so much a weight loss for me, but it's an inflammation feeling. Oh my gosh, I feel less bloaty, you know. And also I started doing your iodine, so that has really been great too. But I think the most important thing for me is to realize carbs are not the enemy. That took a while. You know, we went from, oh, everything, you can eat everything you want as long as it's fat free. I remember that so vividly. And you'd look for things, oh, it says it's fat free. Yes, I can eat this entire bag of cookies. Isn't that awesome? Because it's fat free. And I think about how damaging that was to us, but just buying into that hook, line, and sinker, and then having to really reframe, okay, then it was, oh God, carbs are the ultimate enemy, and you're never going to get to where you want to be if you're eating them. And I thought, that can't be right. I'm doing way too much activity to not have carbs in my life. So with his help and with reading that book and going through it, now I realize, okay, my carbs just come later in the day. I do them with dinner. Some people say, oh my goodness, you can't do them with dinner. You're going to go to sleep. Oh my goodness. No, it works for me. And the days that I weight train with him and we're, you know, really getting after it, then I will also have the carbs at the lunch meal as well. So it's working for me, and it's so freeing to not have that sort of scared mentality around eating carbs. Now, carbs does not mean potato chips, by the way.
Right.
You know.
Well, and I wanted to address that because I feel like we have this obesity issue. We have diabetes, heart disease, chronic diseases going through the roof.
Sure.
It is not carbs. It is the fact that 70% of our diet is processed food.
Absolutely.
It's not real food. It's the artificial ingredients that have 0 calories or carbs in them in the carb-based, fat-based processed food that incorporates the fats and the carbs together with this time bomb of corn syrup and artificial everything. And it's literally like cocaine in your veins. That is what we're trying to get away from something, eliminate some food group. What is the answer? I just want to lose weight. The answer is to go back to whole food, to go back to that whole food. Wild animal protein, I talk about that a lot, where we have to, you know, some of the conventionally raised beef and chicken and poultry now have amyloid proteins. This is new. This is not the same chicken as we were eating 10 years ago. So that might be a trigger for certain people. Certain people might be fine. But the wild animal protein, hands down, has the most nutrient density to it. And then you've got the carbs like sweet potatoes or yams or butternut squashes or things like that, or fruits. I'm a fan of fruits, and I eat my carbs at night just like you do, but prioritizing protein for that muscle synthesis. And because if you are working out like Brad and Raquel are talking about and lifting weights, but you're not giving your muscles that protein to repair, does no good. So Brad, can we talk about the importance of protein for supporting that muscle building, especially as we're getting older, and address the fact that you women out there are not going to get big. You're not going to bulk.
Yeah. Protein is the only thing we focus on when we give nutritional advice is here's the amount of protein you need to eat in a day. And we typically tell women to have 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein each day. Now, the actual study is anywhere from like 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound. Oh, and sorry, of ideal body weight. So 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is per pound of lean muscle mass, was where the actual research was. But it's hard to do. It's hard to calculate that. So we just try to make it simple, knowing that everyone's going to struggle to get there. And by struggling to get there, we know they're going to hit that window of 0.6 to 0.8. And what happens is all the amino acids in that protein, all the nutrients in that protein helps your body recover and rebuild the muscle mass as you break it down with the weight training. So it is mission critical. When you eat enough protein, one of the natural things it does is it naturally increases your natural GLP-1, which is the whole Ozempic craze. So when you eat enough protein, you'll get a boost in your natural GLP-1, which helps control your appetite, helps control your cravings, all that benefit. But when you're doing it naturally, there's less likely to have the sarcopenia that's coming from the Ozempic overload people are getting. But it helps control all that. So what we tell people is each meal, eat your protein. So let's say your goal is you want to eat 120 grams of protein a day. So that's going to be 3 meals that has 40 grams of protein. And we tell women, okay, just eat your protein first and then have whatever else you want. Have some of the carbs, have some of the fats, have your vegetables, have your fruits. And it's going to control the response very nicely. So that's the only thing we have people focus on. We don't have them counting calories, measuring things, any of that stuff. Just focus on the protein, eat that first and have whatever else you want. And we find really nice benefit from that. It's the most powerful thing we've seen in regards to body fat loss is getting that protein intake in to control the appetite, control the cravings, and actually reward your body and the muscles that you're trying to build with the nutrients and the amino acids that it actually needs.
Yeah, and for you women out there who are thinking 120 grams of protein, I can't get that in, I've got great news for you. And Raquel and Brad, you don't even know this yet, but accelerated aminos is out, and it is the exact form of the 9 pure free essential amino acids with the ratio that absorbs 99%, but we have added new ingredients to it that help increase the energy production, muscle protein synthesis, so you're getting even more out of those amino acids, increases muscle glycogen, exercise capacity, speeds up recovery, clears those senescent cells that are damaging the body and causing aging. And we've added OKG, HMB, and orotic acid. And I'm sure, Brad, you've heard of HMB and OKG. Those prevent muscle breakdown. So you are not in that catabolic state. So you're building on what you've just built on. And there's some other ingredients in it, but that's an easy way to add into your protein. Now, this is a supplement to your diet. This is not your protein source. This is if you need to add in, you can use it around your workouts to feed the muscles the amino acids during that workout. So it goes straight in there for that muscle recovery and keeping you in that anabolic state. So that's one thing. And the other thing that you mentioned, Brad, was to eat your protein first. Whenever I put on my plate the carbs, the vegetables, my protein, I eat my protein first. 90% of the time, I don't finish the other stuff on my plate because my brain is saying, oh, I just got all I need. I'm good. But then when you start with the bread basket or the chip basket and you finish it and you're still hungry because your brain says, okay, keep eating because I haven't gotten what I needed yet, right? So let's talk about the other macros and how you, because yes, as Raquel and I talked about, carbs are needed, but if you're overweight and you're more sedentary, your carb intake should be lower than someone like Raquel, who is teaching classes on the move all day long, doing her workouts.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I always put it as earn your carbs. And the way you earn your carbs is as your body fat comes down, you can handle more carbohydrates because you're more insulin sensitive. Or as your exercise volume goes up, meaning high intensity exercise. So what I tell people is the days you train more, you need to eat more. So if you lift weights on a day, that is a day you can eat more carbohydrates. Now, the thing I like about carbohydrates is they're a really good tool to bring stress hormones down. So anytime we need to bring stress hormones down, that's when I like people to incorporate carbs into their diet. So I like post-workout. So first meal after a workout is a great time to have carbs because you're more likely to pull the carbs, the glucose into the muscle cell versus fat cell, and it's going to bring the stress hormones down. I also like people to use carbohydrates in the evening time to also help bring that stress hormone down so they sleep better. I remember, to me, it's just a battle of fighting stress. Yeah. So we want to have a good stress response during the day, so no carbs during the day, so we attack life aggressively, and then carbs anytime we need to bring stress hormones down. So it's real simple. Exercise less, eat less, meaning you don't exercise one day, eat less carbs, only have a little bit at dinner. You exercise really hard one day, great. You're going to need more food, eat more carbs in that day, add carbohydrates into the first meal after the workout. I found this simple strategy to work really, really well for effectively battling the stress response and keeping the body in a fat state or a fat reducing state where you're actually losing body fat over time because your metabolic hormones are on your side.
Yeah. Raquel, you teach yoga.
I do.
And when I first started taking your class and all of the yoga classes in the beginning, when you're stretching and you're slow, my brain's going, come on, let's get going, pick up the weights, let's start moving. And now, as I do have some aches and pains, and I realize that the stretching and the mindset around it is just as important as those weights. What is your take on that part of the workout and the importance of it?
As far as the slowing down part, is that what you're asking?
Yes, the stretching and
Sure.
also the mindset.
Mindset, yes. Well, I would say that I'm very much like you, that I always was one that was go, 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 and being chill and calm was something that was a little more foreign to me. But I think that is what initially attracted me to yoga and the practice of it and teaching, because it really is about calming the mind. So if you're doing it with weights in your hand, cool, that is kind of not really the more traditional sense, of course. But I have found that it is such an important component with all of the other things, because if you don't have the flexibility, if you don't have that, if you're not able to actually bring yourself into more of a chill space, like you said earlier, there's so much going on in our world today. So, I mean, the kids, the husbands, all the stuff, and, you know, just talk about the complexion of the world as it is, that's enough stress. So it becomes even more important to have those slower, more mindful times. And it's become probably the favorite part of my classes, when we're doing the more slow, mindful movement in the beginning and also at the end. And I've also started teaching more actual flow classes without weights, which has been very nice lately. Yeah.
Interesting. And to follow that, you have a following. You have the same people that show up to your classes. They can be men in their 60s or girls in their 20s. You got this broad spectrum. So what is your big takeaway from their, I would say, misunderstanding of working out and getting results?
Ooh, I think a lot of them, if they're younger, are falling into the same habits that probably you and I had, because I've had people actually say to me when I've been talking about some of the things that Brad and I talk about all the times about, you don't need to be doing double workouts. This is silly. When someone does a heated class with me, it's at 95 degrees. If it is a strength class, we're doing things with weights, there are cardio pushes in it. Or if they're doing what we call a yoga Pilates class, still heated to 95, and then they decide to stay for the next one that's heated to 95, I think they're nuts. And people don't seem to understand that that is not the way to go. But I've had people actually say to me, oh, well, I'm not your age yet. It's okay. And you know what I want to do, which finger I want to flip. But I say, well, you'll get there. You'll get there. And I actually had a friend say to me, she was, I'm not even in perimenopause yet. And so I'm not worried about it yet. Okay. Wouldn't you know, the next week, literally the next week, she reached out to me and said, I started getting these hot flashes. I can't sleep. I'm like, oh, welcome to the party. You know, so all of us, we don't know when that's going to happen. And, you know, if one thing that I feel like, I'm sure you've taught your daughters, and I know I've taught my daughter, because, you know, as an athlete, you know, she's fortunately, she really prioritizes her rest and recovery. And a lot of these kids do not. And I think when you get to that sort of level, you see how important it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely a fight. And I will say that I do have a fair amount of people that in that chill time that you're talking about in the classes, let's say it's the end, last 10, 15 minutes, where we are doing more of the stretches, and then we're actually doing shavasana, where we're lying there in what's called corpse pose, chilling out, light music playing, just being still. There's a fair amount of people that still get up and leave before that portion of class.
Right.
And I always say it's the most important portion of the class, because that may be your only time out of your entire day that you are still and quiet.
And something that I talk about is whether it's during that period of time in a morning yoga class or just laying in bed when you first wake up and envisioning your day, how you want it to be, living through it motion by motion, and envisioning the exact positivity that you want to attract. It is amazing how it changes your full day, not just that moment. And I've been doing that during the yoga classes, or whether it's in my sauna, if that's what I'm doing that day, taking that moment of really envisioning and relaxing, focusing on my breath. We are going to have Ed Harold on the show talking about breathing and the amazing impact it can have on your athletic performance. He's also going to be talking to my daughter's rowing team, because it can improve your physical performance, but it also can help with migraines and stress. Just that breath. Right. And that's also why I love yoga, because it forces you to think about your breath. And it's something we just take for granted and we don't think about. And that is a huge tool you can use to affect your stress level. And Brad, as you said, that is the number one key to success in all of this. So we're almost at the end, but I want to make sure we get to some just hard tools or facts and doables that we can take in the gym. Brad, what is the goal? Is the goal to have progressive overload, to increase the weights at every workout, to create a routine that has variety? How important are those things when you are strength training?
Yeah, the variables are really, really important. I see a lot of places like everyone's using the same language of progressive overload and this and that. And progressive overload is really important, but you have to have repeatability over time, meaning you have to do the same workout for at least 3 weeks with progressive overload in that, so the adaptation process actually happens. So when I see someone saying, oh, I do progressive overload, but I do a different workout every time, like, that's not progressive overload. So what I recommend is for 3 weeks, you do the same workout. And I say 2 to 3 times a week max of lifting weights is all you need. My professional athletes work out 4 times a week for 45 minutes in the weight room in their off season. These men and women, they're young, they're highly talented, they have a chef, they have their masseuses, they have everyone taking care of them, and that's the volume they can handle. So as men and women, in our 40s, 50s, 60s, we don't need to train more than they do. So I say 2 or 3 times a week for 45 minutes, get in and lift weights. And for 3 weeks, you need to do the same workouts for 3 weeks. And every time you come back to the workout, you need to do a little bit more than you did last time. Maybe 1 or 2 more reps. Maybe you increase the weight load a little bit. They don't have to be massive jumps. And then every 3 weeks, you need to change the variables up. Maybe the first 3 weeks, you're doing 10 to 12 reps of everything. And then the next 3 weeks, you can drop down and do 6 to 8 reps of everything with a little more weight load. And then you go back to a little higher rep ranging. You need to switch it up every 3 weeks. And the jumps don't need to be really big. That's the other big thing is if you do 1 more rep of an exercise you did the week before, you've just progressed. If you increase your weight by 2%, that's not a big jump. Let's say you do 10 pounds 1 week and the next week you do 12 pounds. That is a big jump. You are progressively overloading. It's really working. So I think that's really critical. So I would say lift weights 2, 3 times a week max. That's what I see work the best. I challenge people, put a day in your week that you do absolutely nothing, like a full-blown recovery day. I mean like a rest day, like you're not working around the house, you're not doing anything, you're not paying bills. I call it an ER recovery day. Your whole focus of that day is just walk, nap, rest, do things you enjoy, watch movies. You'll be shocked at how much that recharges the body. Go do a yin-based yoga class, something that is relaxing on that day. It's hard for me to even put that in because I feel like I'm wasting a day. But that is incredibly powerful for the overall performance of every human being, whether you're a professional athlete or someone like me who's just a dad who works and, I'm trying to keep up with my kids. It's amazing how much more present you'll be in life, and you'll start to see how valuable that rest day is. And I want to say, I know I'm talking a lot about rest and recovery. People don't think I like to work out hard. You can ask Raquel. We work out hard when we work out. But what I learned, a lot of professional athletes I work with is the ones who are the most successful throughout their careers and have the longest careers invest the most in their rest and recovery. I have some athletes who are spending $250,000 a year on recovery and rest protocols. You times that by millions of dollars over an extra 5 or 10 years of a career, and it's massive return. That's how I know that the focus on rest and recovery is so valuable for those of us that like to work out. It's because it allows the body to recover and regenerate and to get stronger and more efficient and better at what it's doing.
And that makes so much sense, because when I try to push myself through a workout when I have no gas in the tank, I literally feel like my body's breaking itself down. Whereas if I do take a rest day, which is very rare, and I'm going to try to do what you're saying, I'm not making any promises, but I feel this extra power. I PR on my lifts. I PR on the rowing machine. And I'm like, wait a second, who is this? And it's really fun. And it's because I've got more gas in the tank. My adrenals are saying thank you. But I'm not going to lie, it is hard. And this is something interesting that I didn't know. I had to take a blood test for my liver enzymes. And on the blood test, it says, do not lift heavy weights for 48 hours beforehand.
Yeah.
Why? Because it raises the inflammation in your body and your liver enzymes. Who knew? No one knows that.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's temporary, doing some stressors in that body of yours, and that's why you're seeing it in your blood test. So I love what you're saying, and the muscle building is not just what you do in the gym. It's the sleep, it's the diet, it's the supplements. And I just wanted to mention 2 other things that are no-brainers and must-haves to get that fat burning and to improve that protein synthesis. And that is the accelerated iodine that Raquel mentioned before. It increases fat oxidation, increases your thyroid health. Your thyroid's your master endocrine gland that actually controls your adrenals. So if your thyroid's not working, your adrenals are going to be tapped. And did you know that stress actually uses more iodine in the body? So during periods of taking finals in college, or a big company issue, or if you're going through a divorce or a death in the family, your body is using more iodine and salt than any other time in your life. So you need it. You need it for that protein synthesis as well. And then, as you guys have heard me with my liver story over the last couple months, you got to take care of your liver, because you cannot metabolize protein or fat without a healthy liver. And our livers are under attack right now from the pandemic, from the GMOs, from the glyphosate, the microplastics, all the things. Our liver is saying, I give up. And the accelerated liver care brought down my enzymes from 700 that should have put me in the hospital, because you want them under 20, down to 90 in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, accelerated liver care did that. And I am now able to digest and metabolize my proteins and fats so much better. So I wanted to mention those. And then, of course, the accelerated aminos. There is no essential amino acid supplement out there like this. It prevents that catabolic state. It increases the energy, so you have more energy for output. And then it also helps with building that muscle on top of the muscle. And it's even good for your college athletes who are being just torn apart with their 6-hour days of working out, and gives them their energy. My daughter's using it and she goes, Mom, I'm feeling big. And so which in her mind is a good thing. So anyways, wanted to mention those. Brad, Raquel, where can people find you and listen to your amazing podcast?
Yeah, so our podcast is Your Ultimate Comeback. YourUltimateComebackPodcast.com is where you can go to get information on that. We're on Spotify, Apple, all those places you can find a typical podcast. We're also on YouTube. We do videotape it like this as well, so you can find us on YouTube as well.
Well, I've been on the show. You guys are super fun. It's also one of my weekly subscriptions that I listen to every week. And I love your guests. I love your banter. You're so just easy to listen to. I feel like I'm in the room, even when I'm not in the room. So thank you, guys. And we will definitely have to be doing this again.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, everyone else, for listening. Our discussion does not have to stop here. If you're feeling lost in the supplement world, no worries. I'm here to help. I know it can be confusing. You can start by getting your free supplement protocol. Just head to SaraBantaHealth.com, complete the form, and I will personally put together a protocol for you. Follow me on social media at Accelerated Health Products and join the free health group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. I answer your questions and I post things daily to keep you moving forward. You can find this podcast, Accelerated Health with SaraBanta, everywhere on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, E360, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and over 100 platforms. Share this podcast with a few of your friends. So many women especially need to hear this, and they'll be relieved that they don't have to do 8 miles of running every day to burn those calories. You can also use coupon podcast10 to get 10% off your first order. Remember, I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so join me next time for more ways to unlock your health potential.